The demand, the great hall of the Galactic Council, was filled with cold light, 1,000 voices echoing across marble walls. Alien delegates whispered in fear and in pride, for they had done this before, many times, and always with success. At the center of the chamber stood the High Speaker, a tall insectoid creature with glittering wings that hummed as he spoke. His voice was sharp and cutting as he declared before all, "The planet called Earth has refused to bend. They think they are equal to us. Today we remind them they are not." The council roared with agreement. Ships were already in position near the Sol system, ready to strike if Earth did not comply. All records showed humanity was new to the stars, weak in numbers, and untested in galactic war compared to ancient empires that stretched across hundreds of worlds. Humanity was nothing more than a child with stones standing against armies with blades. A message was sent to Earth. The words, burned into every human screen: "Surrender or face annihilation." The council had spoken. Silence followed. The galaxy waited, and everyone expected Earth to beg for mercy, but Earth did not beg. On the blue planet below, leaders gathered, in hidden chambers deep under the mountains. Old flags hung on the wall, scarred by wars long past. Generals leaned over maps. Screens flashed with red warnings of incoming fleets. The council had demanded surrender, but instead of fear, a strange quiet filled the room. One human general leaned back in his chair and smiled. It was not arrogance, it was not madness, it was something else, a kind of knowing, a confidence born from history written in blood. "They do not understand us," the general said, his voice calm. "They think we are afraid, but we are Earth, and fear is not enough to break us." Outside, across cities and colonies, people prepared for the worst. But even in that preparation, there was no sound of despair. Workers in factories worked faster, engineers whispered to each other about old projects hidden away, and pilots sharpened their minds for battles they had trained for in secret. The council believed Earth was unready, but they had forgotten the truth of humanity's story. Earth had always been at war, not with empires among the stars, but with the world itself. Storms, quakes, plagues, and fire. Humanity had survived them all. Every trial had carved them into something harder, sharper, unyielding. When the council envoy arrived in orbit, expecting to see trembling leaders, he instead found calm faces. The human ambassador greeted him with steady eyes. "Your council demands we surrender," the envoy hissed, his voice heavy with contempt. "Lay down your arms and kneel, or we will burn your world." The human did not bow. He did not break. Instead, he answered with words that carried across the stars. "Tell your council, Earth does not surrender." His tone was simple, without anger, without fear, but behind that tone was something the envoy could not understand. The envoy reported back, confused and shaken. "They smiled," he said to the council. "Humans smiled when told to surrender." The chamber fell silent. Even the High Speaker's wings stilled. For in all their conquests, never before had a species smiled at the threat of extinction. On Earth, whispers spread in hidden networks. The council thinks we are weak. The council thinks we will kneel. But humanity only smiles, because they know something the galaxy does not. Deep under the oceans, silent machines stirred awake. In the shadow of the moon, a shape larger than any council ship began to rise, hidden for years under cover of darkness. Humanity had been preparing. The demand had been made, the order had been spoken. But Earth was not a world that bent so easily. They had heard the threat of the galaxy, and instead of breaking, they smiled. And somewhere in the silence of space, beyond the reach of council eyes, the first human fleet whispered into the void, "We do not surrender." The smirk in the shadows, the Galactic Council gathered once more, their chamber buzzing with anger and disbelief. The envoy's report was repeated across the chamber. "They smiled," he said again, as if repeating it would make sense, but it did not. The High Speaker slammed his claw on the stone table, his wings trembling with fury. "How dare they laugh in the face of the council?" he hissed. "We have crushed empires older than their world. We have erased species stronger than their fleets. Yet these humans smile." Whispers rose. Some delegates called for immediate war. Others warned of caution. But in every corner of the chamber, doubt began to creep in. What did humanity know that the Council did not? On Earth, that smile spread like fire in the streets of New York, London, and Beijing, in the colonies on Mars and Luna, in mining outposts on Europa and Titan. Whispers became words, and words became resolve. We do not surrender. The phrase echoed like a hymn. Children drew it on walls. Soldiers carved it into their armor. Workers sang it as they built machines in hidden hangars. Humanity's smile was not madness. It was a signal. A secret they kept in the shadows. The envoy, shaken and unsure, tried to explain to his masters what he saw. He spoke of humans who did not tremble, of leaders who spoke without fear, of cities where life continued as if war was nothing. They act as though victory is already theirs, he whispered, as though they know something we cannot see. The Council dismissed him at first, calling him weak, calling him fooled by human arrogance, but in private, the High Speaker could not shake the image of a human general smiling while death hung above his world. In secret corners of the galaxy, spies tried to pierce Earth's defenses. They saw strange factories on the far side of the moon. They saw mines on asteroids that produced metals stronger than Council steel. They saw lights in the dark beyond Saturn. Lights that should not be there, but every time they reported back, their voices carried the same unease. They smile, they said. Humans smile as if they are waiting for us. In a hidden bunker under the Rockies, Earth's generals met again, the demand of surrender still fresh in their minds. But their plans were already moving. One general pointed at a star map glowing on the wall. Red markers showed the Council fleet near Neptune. They think we are blind, he said. But they do not know what we built in silence. Another laughed softly, the sound echoing through the room. Let them come, she said. The Council sees our smile, but they do not see our teeth. Humanity's history was a weapon sharper than any blade. They had lived in darkness. They had fought wars of survival long before they reached the stars. Every scar on Earth was proof that surrender was never their way. The smile was not arrogance, it was warning. On the Council's warships, captains argued, some demanded a quick strike to erase Earth, others hesitated, for deep inside they felt something was wrong. No prey should smile at the hunter, no victim should laugh at the executioner. In the quiet hours of night on Earth, a child asked her father why people were not afraid. The father knelt and answered simply, because we know who we are, his eyes shining with pride, and they do not. The Council called another vote. They prepared a second message, this time with threats stronger than before. But already, the seeds of fear were planted among them, for in the shadows of the galaxy humanity smirked, and the smirk was more frightening than any weapon. And beyond Jupiter's rings, hidden in the cold, engines that had not burned in centuries lit up for the first time, their glow silent, their power unseen by alien eyes. The smile had a meaning. The smirk had a promise. The Council demanded surrender, but humanity was only beginning to show why they smiled. Echoes of old wars. The galaxy thought humans were young, untested, soft in spirit, but they had never walked on Earth's soil. They had never breathed her air or faced her storms. In the archives of the Council, humanity's history was written, in short lines, a species that had clawed its way to the stars in just a few centuries. Fast but reckless, quick but fragile. The Council scholars laughed at the idea of Earth being dangerous, but they had read only numbers, not stories. On Earth, stories lived in the blood of its people. Every child knew of wars that burned nations, of fires that turned cities to ash, of plagues that killed millions yet left survivors who carried on. Humanity's leaders gathered in the bunker, their faces lit by the dim light of screens, and one commander spoke quietly. The Council thinks, this is our first war, he said, but they forget our wars never ended. The others nodded because they knew the truth. Humanity had always been fighting, sometimes against itself, sometimes against the world, sometimes against the silence of hunger and the weight of despair. But always they stood up again. The general pointed at an old flag folded behind glass, scarred by time. It was a memory of a war long past. When empires rise and fall, we survive, he said. Because war is not new to us, it is our oldest teacher. Far from Earth, alien scouts watched and reported. They saw no signs of panic, no surrender, Only preparations, strange ships slipping through shadows, silent drills in the dark of space. The council grew restless, their voices sharper, their threats louder, but even as they shouted, doubt grew, because every report carried the same unsettling detail. The humans smiled. Back on Earth, an old veteran told his granddaughter of a battle he had fought long before the council came. We were outnumbered, he said. We had no chance, but we fought anyway. And when the dust cleared, we were still standing. The girl listened, her small hands clutching his, and she smiled too. That smile spread like a quiet storm, across oceans and continents, in colonies under alien skies. Humans remembered who they were. The echoes of old wars gave them strength. In the council chamber, one younger delegate spoke in fear. What if they are not smiling out of madness, he said. What if they smile because they know they can win? The high speaker silenced him with a glare, but the words hung heavy in the air. The council sent another message, stronger, crueler. Submit or be erased, they said, their fleets already moving. But on Earth the reply was the same, firm and simple. We do not surrender. Humanity's history whispered through every shadow, through every hidden ship, through every soldier's heart. They had faced death before, and they had beaten it, again and again. Deep in the void, far beyond Pluto's orbit, old stations stirred awake, relics of secret projects, weapons designed not for show but for survival. They had been forgotten by the galaxy, but not by Earth. The Council thought Earth was alone, but humanity's greatest weapon was never just ships or guns, it was memory. Memory of pain, memory of fire, memory of surviving when survival was impossible. One commander in the Council Warfleet studied the records again. He whispered to himself, "They have fought worse than us." His hands trembling. Maybe they smile because they have already lived through hell. And in the silence of Earth's night, as stars shone above, the people stood ready. They carried the weight of their past and they smiled, not because they did not fear, but because they knew fear could not break them. The echoes of old wars were loud in their hearts, louder than the threats of the Council, louder than the drums of alien fleets, and those echoes would soon shake the galaxy. The silent armada, the Nyar. Council believed their fleets were unmatched, a wall of steel and fire stretching across the stars. Their warships moved in perfect formation, polished by centuries of conquest, yet something unsettled them. Reports came from their scouts near the edge of the Sol system. Strange energy signatures flickered like ghosts. Scanners caught glimpses of objects too large to be meteors, too cold to be natural, then vanished again into silence. The high speaker dismissed the warnings, calling them errors, calling them lies. But the commanders of the fleet were less certain. One captain whispered to another, "What if the humans are hiding something?" But no one dared to speak too loudly. In the shadow of Mars, massive hangars opened. Silent ships slid into the void, their hulls dark, their engines quiet. They carried no signals, no beacons. They were ghosts born of Earth's secret labor. Factories buried deep under mountains had worked for decades, men and women giving their sweat to build what the Council could not see. Engineers spoke of them only in whispers, calling them the Armada of Silence. The first of those ships drifted past the moon, hidden from alien eyes, their design strange and brutal, forged not for beauty but for survival. A farmer on Mars looked up at the night sky and saw a streak of light vanish into darkness. He knew what it meant. He whispered softly, "They are awake now," and he smiled. The Council's fleet pressed closer, confident in their strength, but in their arrogance, they did not understand the quiet power moving beneath their notice. Humanity had learned from its oldest wars that the loudest army often died first. Silence was the true blade. Inside Earth's bunker, a general tapped a screen showing faint outlines of the Armada. "They see our smile, but not our hand," he said. "Let them think we are weak. Let them laugh, and when the time is right, they will choke on their pride." The silent Armada was more than ships. It was a statement. Every vessel was a promise written in steel, a promise that humanity would not bend. Alien spies sent messages back to the Council, frantic and desperate. "We see shapes," they said. We see shadows that should not exist. But before their words could spread, their signals cut to static. The council argued in fury, half demanded immediate destruction of Earth, half demanded caution. But all of them felt the same unease, for prey did not build in silence. Prey did not smirk when the hunter approached. On Europa, in a frozen mining station, workers paused to watch something rise from beneath the ice, a massive ship, larger than any seen before, its hull carrying scars from storms of salt and stone. The workers cheered, for they knew the council would soon learn the truth. The armada moved without sound, each ship sliding into position, each crew calm and steady. They had trained in secret, born to fight a war the galaxy thought would never come. The council fleet. Commander finally saw the first outline on his screen, faint but undeniable. Impossible, he muttered. These records show humans had no ships of this class. Yet more shadows appeared one after another, stretching into the void. In the chamber of the council, the high speaker hissed in denial. Tricks, he said, illusions. But his words trembled, his wings shaking, because deep inside, he knew, the humans had built something real. The armada grew with every passing hour, its presence a storm in silence, hidden in darkness, waiting for the moment to strike. On Earth, children gathered on rooftops to watch the stars. They could not see the ships, but they felt them. Their parents whispered, "Do not fear, our guardians are awake now." The council had demanded surrender. They expected submission. Instead, they found shadows moving against them, shadows that smiled as humans did, quiet, patient, and unbroken. And in the black sea of space where no sound could travel, the silent armada whispered back to the galaxy, "We are here." The first blow. The council fleet entered the orbit of Neptune, their ships burning bright against the cold black of space. Banners of conquest flew across their transmissions, their weapons charged with arrogant confidence. For centuries they had crushed worlds, for centuries they had made others bow. They thought Earth would be the same, a short battle, a clean victory, another flag raised. But as the fleet prepared to move closer, space itself seemed to shift. Shadows stirred where none should exist, and from the silence of the void came the first human ship. It was not massive compared to the council's dreadnoughts, but it carried a presence that froze alien eyes, its hull dark as stone, its engines glowing like embers, and on its side the mark of Earth, a blue-green world no one had respected until now. The council commander sneered. "One ship," he said. "They dare mock us with this." And he ordered his cruisers to fire. Bright lances of plasma ripped through the dark, the kind of fire that had ended empires before, but the human ship did not fall. It moved with speed the council had never seen, a blur of steel darting between beams. Then came the soundless roar. Railguns thundered in silence, slugs of metal tearing through space faster than light. 3 council cruisers vanished in bursts of shattered armor, their flames swallowed by the void. The council commander's eyes widened, his wings stiff with terror. "Impossible," he whispered. "No one destroys a cruiser with a single strike." But the humans had done it, and worse, their ship kept moving, kept firing. More shadows emerged. 2, then 5, then 10 ships of the silent armada slipped from the dark, their hulls drinking light, their weapons spitting storms of steel. The council fleet, once a wall of power, broke in chaos. Commanders shouted orders, their voices shaking, but their formations crumbled as human ships danced through their ranks, cutting them apart like knives through paper. In Earth's bunker, generals watched the screens without surprise. One leaned forward and spoke. "The first blow has been struck," he said calmly. "Now the galaxy will learn what our smile means." On the council's flagship, fear spread like poison. The commander tried to rally his fleet. "They are few, they are weak," he cried. But his voice trembled, because each human strike proved otherwise. Every slug fired by the armada carried not just metal, but history. Centuries of war, centuries of pain, centuries of survival. The ships did not fight as machines. They fought as symbols, as ghosts of every battle Earth had endured. An alien officer clutched his controls and shouted, "They are not fighting to win ground. They are fighting to show us what they are." But before his words finished, a railgun slug split his ship apart. The battle was chaos, fire against silence, arrogance against patience, and in every clash, humanity showed why they smiled. Back on Earth, civilians watched the skies through their networks. They could not hear the silence of space, but they saw flashes of light beyond Neptune. And when they learned human ships had destroyed alien cruisers, cheers shook every city. A child in a shelter whispered, "We are not prey." And her mother held her close, smiling through tears. The first blow shattered more than ships. It shattered the illusion of the Council's power. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy saw their fleets bleed. In the chamber of the Council, silence ruled. No one dared speak. The High Speaker's wings hung limp. He could not explain it. He could not deny it. Humans had done what no other species had dared. And still, the Armada moved, not reckless, not wild, but precise. Every strike chosen, every move silent. The smile of Earth written across the stars. The Council had demanded surrender, and in answer, humanity struck the first blow, and the soundless echo of that strike spread across the galaxy like a storm. The unbroken smile. The wreckage of Council cruisers drifted through the black sea of space, their flames glowing faint against the stars. The once proud fleet looked broken, their formations scattered, their voices trembling, but even in their shock, the Council commanders tried to believe this was only luck. A surprise strike, they muttered, nothing more. Yet deep in their eyes was fear. For every time the humans appeared, they smiled. The crews of the silent Armada fought with calm faces. No panic, no despair, only the steady smile of a people who knew what they were doing. The Council's flagship sent a message across the battlefield. Surrender now, and we will spare your world. The words dripped with desperation, but Earth did not answer. Their silence was louder than any reply. On the ground in Earth's bunkers, leaders watched as the Armada carved through alien lines. A general leaned forward. They thought, "The first blow was our end," he said, "but it was only our beginning." Beyond Jupiter, the darkness stirred again. A shadow larger than anything yet seen moved slowly into view. Its size blocked out the stars. Its engines burned like suns. Council scouts screamed into their transmitters. "A supership," they cried. "A vessel larger than a city." Their voices cut into static as the Colossus revealed itself. It was the Titan, a warship born in silence. Built in the shadow of gas giants hidden from alien eyes for decades, its guns stretched like mountains. Its armor shone like midnight, and across its surface were carved the words, "We do not surrender." The Council fleet froze, their weapons dimmed, their courage broke. For never in their long history had they seen such a thing rise from a death world like Earth. The High Speaker, watching from the chamber far away, hissed in disbelief. "How?" he demanded. "How could a young race build this?" But no one answered, for no one knew. The Titan moved slowly, each step of its engines shaking the void. Railguns charged, missile bays opened, plasma cannons glowed. Humanity's smile had grown into a grin of iron and fire. Council warships fired in fear, their beams lashing out like whips of light. But the Titan did not bend. Its shields burned, its armor cracked, yet it moved forward without pause. And when it answered, it was like thunder. A railgun blast so strong it tore through 3 dreadnoughts in a single strike. The explosion lit the void like a false dawn. On Earth, people watching screens erupted in cheers, in tears, in laughter. Not because war was beautiful, but because for the first time the galaxy saw what Earth had always known. Surrender was never an option. A child looked at the stars and whispered, "That is ours," pointing to the glowing shape of the Titan. Her father nodded, his voice breaking. "Yes, that is Earth's answer." The Council commanders tried to retreat, their fleets pulling back. But humanity did not chase recklessly. Their ships moved with precision, their strategy clear. Every strike was chosen to send a message. Every victory carved deeper into the galaxy's mind. Humanity smiled because they knew the battle was not just survival, it was a lesson. Inside the Titan's command bridge, the Admiral stood calm, her eyes steady. "Hold the line," she ordered. "Do not pursue blindly. We are not here to end them quickly. We are Here to show them what Earth is, the Armada obeyed, their ships forming around the Titan like wolves around their Alpha. The Council watched as their own fleet shrank back, their arrogance fading into silence. In the chamber of the Council, fear finally cracked their pride. Whispers turned to panic. Some shouted for retreat, others demanded peace, but none dared speak of victory anymore. And still the humans smiled, unbroken, unstoppable, unwavering. For the first time in countless ages, the galaxy realized that Earth's smile was not arrogance. It was truth. The Council had demanded surrender, but in return they were given the Titan, a god of steel rising from the shadows, and behind it, the promise of more. And as the battle quieted, as the Council retreated in shame, humanity's smile remained unbroken, eternal. The lesson of Earth. The battlefield grew quiet. Wreckage drifted in the dark. The Council fleet had pulled back. Broken and humiliated, their warships limped through the void, engines sparking, their once proud banners torn to shreds. The Titan stood among the stars like a mountain, its massive guns glowing faint, its armor scarred but unbroken. The silent Armada circled it, their formation steady, their weapons still ready. On Earth, every city roared with cheers. Screens flickered with the image of the great ship. Children shouted its name. Workers wept. Soldiers raised their fists, for they knew what the galaxy had just seen. The Council tried to send another message, their words trembling. Stop, humans, let there be peace. But no reply came, only silence. The kind of silence that crushed pride deeper than any weapon. In the chamber of the Council, delegates argued, their voices sharp with fear. They should not have been able to do this, one cried. They were supposed to be weak, another hissed. We ordered their surrender and they smiled. The High Speaker sat in silence, his wings heavy, his eyes dim, for the truth was now clear. They had misjudged humanity. They had thought Earth was prey, but Earth had proven otherwise. On the Titan's bridge, the Admiral stood tall, her voice calm as she spoke into the comms that reached across systems. Her words carried not only to her fleet, but to the entire galaxy. We are the children of Earth, she said. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day. We fought storms, we fought hunger. We fought each other, and still we survived. Her voice grew stronger. The Council thought we would surrender. They thought we would bow, but surrender does not live in our blood. Kneeling is not in our nature. We smile because we know who we are. Every human listening felt those words burn into their hearts. Every alien listening felt a chill run through their veins, for they understood now that humanity's smile was not arrogance, it was certainty. The Admiral gave her final words, sharp as a blade. If you come again, you will not just see our smile, you will see our fire. Earth does not surrender, Earth does not break. The message spread across the galaxy. Every station, every world, every outpost heard it. And the legend of humanity grew. On distant colonies, alien citizens whispered in awe. They defied the Council, some said. They smiled in the face of death, others added. And in those whispers, a seed of fear was planted, a fear that would never die. The Council pulled back their fleets, their commanders broken, their soldiers shaken. Never before had they been forced to retreat by such a young species. Never before had they seen their might crushed by silence and smiles. On Earth, the people did not dance in arrogance. They did not claim conquest. Instead, they stood taller, prouder. Their smiles carried across generations because they knew the lesson had been given. A teacher in a classroom told her students, this was not just a victory of ships and guns. This was the lesson of who we are. The galaxy demanded our surrender, and we answered with a smile. The silent Armada returned slowly, its ships vanishing into hidden bases, the Titan descending to orbit like a god watching over its children. The galaxy remained quiet. No more demands came. No more threats were spoken. Only silence. A silence born not of peace but of respect and fear. In the years to come, stories would be told, songs would be sung, paintings would be made of that first smile, the smile that shook the galaxy, and in the heart of Earth, carved into stone for all to see, were the words that became eternal. We do not surrender. The Council had demanded Earth's surrender, and in return, they had been given a smile that carried the weight of every war, every scar, every victory of humanity's long survival. And from that day on, the galaxy remembered the lesson of Earth, a lesson written not in words, not in treaties, but in the silence of a smile.